and welcome back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Retrospective, taking a look at each film in the MCU and seeing how well they hold up. Last time we saw everybody's favorite web-slinger get a standalone outing in the MCU with Spider-Man Homecoming, a wonderfully fresh take on a classic character. Today we look at the long-awaited return of an OG Avenger with Thor Ragnarok. With Thor the Dark World receiving mixed feedback, Marvel decided to take the God of Thunder in a new direction. Both Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost wrote the initial draft after working on the previous film. Later on, Eric Pearson was brought in to do rewrites and give the story a more lighthearted and fun tone that wasn't as present in the Thor movies. Alan Taylor did not return as director due to the stifling changes to his vision of Dark World during post-production. Instead, Marvel hired New Zealand filmmaker Taika Waititi to helm the project. Known for his vampire mockumentary What We Do in the Shadows, Waititi brought a level of humor that hadn't been seen in the MCU before. Marvel chose to adapt the iconic Ragnarok storyline from the comics and Norse mythology, depicting the apocalypse of Asgard and the Nine Realms. They also took this as an opportunity to bring a popular Hulk storyline to the big screen. With the character's fate left ambiguous at the end of Age of Ultron, many fans hoped that a film adaptation of Planet Hulk could come to the MCU. The hero was still in a complicated place because of the rights issues with Universal, so a standalone film was out of the question. However, because Ragnarok deals with many space elements, Marvel used that as an excuse to do the next best thing. In addition to the big storylines, there was also a discussion of introducing new heroes, including Beta Ray Bill, who was considered but ultimately cut during development. Instead, they introduced a member of the Asgardian soldiers called the Valkyries. Brunhilde was chosen as the representative of the female warriors in the film. With all the new elements coming in, Marvel had to balance things out by spending a lot less time on Earth, with the characters of Eric Selvig, Jane Foster, and Darcy Lewis written out entirely. Like with Dark World, a great deal of marketing was done to promote the movie, including a set of mockumentary shorts called Team Thor. They were vignettes meant to comedically portray what Thor was doing during Civil War. They also aren't canon, since the movie itself takes place around the same time as Civil War. Nevertheless, they are fun. The studio gave their all to shake up the character and story to the point where it became a gamble, and thankfully, it paid off. Ragnarok premiered in late 2017, became one of the highest-grossing films of the year, and was lauded by critics and audiences for its fresh and comedic take on the Norse god. Now that Thor is driving further into this cosmic rabbit hole, was this radical shift worth it? Seems like a dumb question, but I'll try to answer it. The film opens with a stark contrast to its predecessors. Thor is imprisoned by the fire demon Surtur, voiced by Clancy Brown. Surtur is the bringer of the prophesized end of Asgard, the titular Ragnarok. Right off the bat, we see a massive tonal shift with Thor and his demeanor. He's cracking one-liners and openly mocking this clearly intimidating force, and it's hilarious. You could tell Chris Hemsworth was having fun reinventing the character with this sense of humor. Anyway, Thor questions Surtur about Ragnarok, achievable only when he merges with the eternal flame on Asgard. When Thor mentions Odin protects the flame, Surtur reveals that Odin is not on Asgard, and the realm is therefore unprotected. Thor then easily breaks from his bonds and wipes the floor with Surtur and his army, while Led Zeppelin's Immigrant plays, giving us a kick-ass opening. Speaking of music, the score here is some of the most unique in the MCU. Mark Mothersbaugh created such an incredible blend of classical Norse music with modern techno, giving the film a very different identity from the other Thor movies. Thor gathers Surtur's skull and summons Heimdall to bring him home, only he is no longer guarding the Bifrost. Having been branded a traitor in the previous film, Heimdall went into hiding. His replacement, a soldier named Scourge, played by Karl Urban, now watches over the realms, though he mostly uses his position to gather items from Earth to show off to women. Scourge brings Thor back as he confronts Odin, who is Loki in disguise as we saw in the end of Dark World. In true Loki fashion, he uses his position as king to create a monument of himself and make an overly dramatic play of his sacrifice to stop the Dark Elves. The best part is the Asgardian actors playing the leads. Chris's brother Luke played Thor. Matt Damon was the actor playing Loki, and Sam Neill was the actor playing Odin. This is just a fun, tongue-in-cheek way to poke fun at Dark World, and for Marvel to acknowledge their own mess-ups. It's also fun to see Anthony Hopkins play around a bit as Loki pretending to be Odin. Thor gets Loki to reveal himself and demands to know where he put their father. He takes him to Earth on the site of a now demolished retirement home. Also, we get an offhand reference to Jane, revealing that she and Thor broke up. I already talked about how this trope bothers me in Civil War, but I will say it doesn't bother me as much here, since I don't think there was any way for the character to be of use at the time. Plus, she's coming back in Love and Thunder, so hopefully we'll get some explanations there. Anyway, Loki suddenly falls through a familiar portal, and Thor is given the address to the New York Sanctum. That's right, Doctor Strange is back to pay off the mid-credits scene of his own movie. It's great to see Steven at a time when he was becoming more adept with his sorcery skills. He asks Thor why he brought Loki back to Earth, and Thor explains their situation. Steven reveals he knows exactly where Odin is, but was told not to inform Thor as he wanted to remain in exile to reflect on his life. He opens a portal in Norway and sends Thor and Loki to him. There, the two sons share a somber goodbye with their father, as he reveals his power is running out and his darkest secret is coming to light. Odin's true firstborn, Hela, the goddess of death, was trapped by him after her bloodlust became too much to handle. However, as he is dying, she can now break free and exact vengeance for her imprisonment. He leaves his children with a reminder to think of the place they're in as home. This is a wonderfully tragic death scene that treats the character with the dignity he deserves. Apparently, there was an alternate version of this death that was filmed. Odin was still on Earth, living as a crazed homeless man that Hela mercilessly kills in this version. While he admitted it to be humorous, Waititi decided to reshoot the scene with the version we got in the film, and that was a smart move on his part. With Odin's passing, Hela makes her entrance. And I mean, she makes an entrance. Cate Blanchett has such a deadly and slightly seductive poise with her performance, making her incredibly memorable compared to other Thor villains. Thor throws his hammer at her, but she effortlessly catches it and destroys it without breaking a sweat. This was one of the biggest things marketed in the trailers to the point where it broke the internet. R.I.P. Mjolnir. Loki calls for Scourge to bring them back, but Hela follows them through the Bifrost. She throws them into the far reaches of space as she lands on Asgard and kills Fandral and Volstagg. This was quite shocking seeing it in theaters, but in retrospect it was for the better. There's honestly no way the characters could have been of any use, and getting rid of them felt like a symbol of abandoning the past part of the Thor trilogy. Plus, it gave Zachary Levi an excuse to become Shazam. I will say that Jamie Alexander being unable to reprise her role of Lady Sif was probably a blessing in disguise, since none of other Thor's Asgardian friends survived, leaving her open to returning in Love and Thunder. But I digress. Thor lands on a junk planet called Sakaar. He is captured by Scrapper 142, played by Tessa Thompson, and sold to Sakaar's ruler, the Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum, to become a gladiator in the Contest of Champions. Goldblum's portrayal here is hilariously dubious, especially when working off his assistant Topaz, played by Rachel House. Loki is also revealed to have landed on Sakaar, but a few weeks before due to a weird time difference on the planet, which the Grandmaster says prevents him from aging despite being thousands of years old. I'd like to take this moment to point out the major stylistic change here, especially with the production design. Waititi drew a lot of influence from Jack Kirby's artistic style, and they used the colorful costumes and sets to create an homage to his work. Also, I love the reference to the tunnel scene from Willy Wonka. It's so jarring and amusing to see something like that in a Thor movie. Anyway, the Grandmaster has Thor processed and placed with the other gladiators in anticipation of the match against his so-called prized champion. There, he meets a Cronin named Korg, played by Waititi himself. The character was originally meant to be a small cameo for the director, but Hemsworth liked the character so much he insisted he be given a bigger role. Korg is just a fun side character who makes great use of Waititi's comedic talents. Meanwhile, on Asgard, Hela kills Hogun, appoints Scourge as her executioner, and uses the internal flame to revive her giant pet wolf Fenris and Asgard's fallen army. They kind of remind me of the undead soldiers in the Mummy movies. She also reveals that she and Odin gained rule over the realms through violent bloodshed, and when he locked her away, removed any mention of their misdeeds to create a peacekeeping facade. This is further shown with her entering the weapons vault and denouncing items as weak or fake, including the supposed Infinity Gauntlet from the first Thor movie. Back on Sakaar, Thor prepares for his fight and learns that the Scrapper is a Valkyrie, a member of a group of female soldiers sworn to protect the throne of Asgard. He asks for her help, but it's clear she wants nothing to do with Asgard. Thor is processed for battle, giving us a fun Stan Lee cameo of him cutting Thor's hair. He is put in the arena and fights who else but the Incredible Hulk. Thor's reaction to seeing the Hulk is priceless. The best part is that the line was written by a kid. They visited the set as part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation and suggested the remark. The Hulk's appearance also terrifies Loki, who had worked his way into the Grandmaster's circle. Thor tries to get through to Bruce, but Hulk isn't budging and the two duke it out. It's always fun to see Thor and Hulk fight, especially since we see Thor channel electricity without his hammer. As he gets the upper hand, the Grandmaster uses the Obedience Disc placed on Thor's neck to incapacitate him. On Asgard, Heimdall leads a rebellion against Hela and steals the Bifrost sword, preventing her from leaving. Thor wakes up in Hulk's private quarters. We get to see the two banter a bit in what feels like the most vocal Hulk has ever been. It's great to see Mark Ruffalo give the character more dimension with this dynamic. Hulk explains the Quinjet he flew in Age of Ultron set him to Sakaar, though the exact trajectory is unclear. Thor tries to convince Hulk to help him escape and join his fight, but Hulk doesn't want to leave as the people of Sakaar love him as opposed to the people of Earth, who are usually scared of him. He does get Hulk to bring Valkyrie to him, where he once again tries to convince her to help him, but to no avail, even with the revelation of Hela's return, which the Valkyries fought long ago but perished, leaving her the sole survivor. With no one else to help, Thor communicates with Heimdall for advice. He tells him to find the Big Door to take him off the planet and bring him back home. He makes first escape for the Quinjet, with Hulk following behind. Hulk tries to destroy the ship, but Thor activates a recording of Natasha communicating with the ship at the end of Age of Ultron. This causes Bruce to finally retake control. He wakes in a daze, only remembering the fight in Sokovia. Turns out the Hulk's been in the driver's seat for 2 years. Bruce fears this means another transformation could be permanent. Still, he works with Thor to find another ship and leave Sakaar. Just like with the Hulk, Thor and Bruce also share some great banter. Their escape, however, reaches the Grandmaster's attention, who tasks Loki and Valkyrie with finding them. As the two fight to get to them first, Loki taps into her memory, showing the battle against Hela. We see that another Valkyrie sacrificed herself to save her as she escaped. Given that the character is bisexual, with a cut scene of her with another woman originally part of the film, it's possible the two could have been romantically involved, making the massacre all the more traumatic. Then again, I could be reading too much into it. Anyway, Valkyrie knocks Loki out and goes to help Thor and Bruce, who are trudging through a Hulk parade. She has a change of heart and joins the team, which Thor calls the Revengers, a funny jab at an Avengers knockoff name. She tells them the fastest way back to Asgard is through a wormhole called the Devil's Anus. Yes, that is literally what it's called. Loki offers his services to steal one of the Grandmaster's ships, as only they can make it through. The group reluctantly accepts and breaks Korg and the other prisoners out to start a revolution as a distraction. Thor and Loki fight through the Grandmaster's forces to get to the ship, while they talk about Odin's death and the current status of their relationship. Even in messes like Dark World, Hemsworth and Hiddleston never miss a beat working together. Their history as brothers never feels forced and contrived, and that is well on display here. Also, Get Help is really funny. Loki does try to betray Thor again, but he anticipates this and places an obedience disc to keep him busy. He gets to the ship, revealed to be a pleasure cruiser for the Grandmaster, and makes his escape, with Bruce and Valkyrie joining him. Topaz and some bounty hunters try to stop them, so Thor and Valkyrie fight them off while Bruce flies. Thor and Valkyrie have some great chemistry here. The original script had the two leaning towards a much more romantic relationship, but that was changed to separate them from Thor and Jane. I really like this, especially since Thor doesn't have a love interest to worry about, and Valkyrie gets to be her own person. They make it to the wormhole and reach Asgard, where Hela prepares to destroy the rebellion. Thor goes to confront Hela, while Valkyrie and Bruce help the Asgardians escape to the Bifrost. Meanwhile, Korg and his own rebellion free Loki, who joins them and takes them to Asgard to help the fight. Scourge and Fenris trap Heimdall and the rebellion on the bridge, and Valkyrie's weapons can't stop them. Seeing no other option, Bruce lets the Hulk take over again, and he demolishes Fenris. Thor and Hela fight in the climax, where Thor loses an eye and feels overpowered. In a vision from Odin, he is reminded that he is the god of thunder, and that his hammer only helped channel the power within him all along. Reinvigorated, Thor uses his lightning power to destroy Hela's army. Immigrant even gets a reprisal. Scourge also finally grows a conscience and gives up his life so that the others can escape. Despite his newfound power, Thor still can't defeat Hela. He then comes to a revelation. Ragnarok was never meant to be stopped. It had to happen to stop Hela. After all, as Odin said, Asgard is not a place, it's a people. Loki goes to the weapons vault and places the skull of Surtur in the eternal flame, reviving him and unleashing its true power. The team make their escape as Hela unsuccessfully tries to stop Ragnarok. The realm is destroyed and the people of Asgard need a new home. Thor finally accepts his role as king with Loki's complete support and heads course for Earth as the film ends. The mid-credits scene shows Thor and Loki watching in dread as Thanos' ship towers over them, setting up Infinity War. The post-credits scene has the Grandmaster at the mercy of the people he enslaved. Another moment played for laughs. And with that, it's curtains on Ragnarok. I had a great deal of fun watching this in theaters. Now I think it's the perfect representation of how fun a Marvel movie can be. This redefined the character for a new era and showed what a crazy epic hero like Thor could be. Definitely in my top 10 MCU films. With Infinity War heating up, just one more hero needed a solo adventure before the big event. Join me next time when we look at Black Panther and see how much of a powerful legacy its titular hero created. Until then, if you want to keep up with my videos, then be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and check out my VODs on my other channel. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and share with friends. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.